alternating angles. The other quickest way to remember them is by just saying Z angles. How do we get them? The Z angles are like we are saying if we have a parallel line and another parallel line, remember we have to be told that they are parallel. How? By the lines, these ones, these arrows. So I have parallel lines like this, and I have a line that is drawn across. What did we say that line is called? That's right, it's called a transversal line. Now, do you see that we have a Z? This one, this one, this one. Do you see that Z? Yes, that's right. So when we have a Z, that's why alternating angles are called Z angles, because we are looking at the angles of Z. This angle and this angle are equal. Why? Because they are alternating angles. Okay, so if this is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, we are saying our C is equal to F. Why is that? It's because they are alternating angles. Then when you tell us that alternating angles, they are alternating angles, you need to tell us which lines did you see to be parallel. Let me label them. Let's say this one is M, this one is N, this one is P, this one is Q, this one is R, and this one is S. So you need to tell us that it's because MN is parallel to PQ. So these two lines that we have here, they mean parallel. So MN is parallel to PQ. So each time I write the angles that exist when I have the parallel lines and the transversal line, I need to indicate which lines am I saying are parallel. There is something else interesting about this. The Z is not always this way. We can also have this one. So in other words, the Z is not always this way. We can also have this Z. So when we have that Z, may you tell me which angles are equal? Which ones are equal? Yes, that is very, very correct. That is very, very correct. This angle and this angle are also equal. We call them alternating angles. So in other words, our D is equal to E. Why is that? Alternating angles. What do I have to say after saying alternating angles? I need to mention which lines are parallel. MN is parallel to PQ. Then I close my bracket. Yes, that's what we are supposed to do when we are dealing with parallel lines. You were used to this Z, where we talked about this angle and this angle. It makes sense. But in maths, we also have this Z, this one and this one, where these lines are parallel. This is the kind of Z that we got. So you always need to understand that where there are parallel lines, there is the Z of this side and the Z of that side. We have another example. So you need to tell me, do we have parallel lines? Yes, you are right. You are right, we have parallel lines. Which ones are parallel? A, B, and C, D. How do we write that? We say AB is parallel to CD. Why would we say that they are parallel? Because we are given. You always need to remember that. Parallel lines, you don't have to think and feel that they are parallel. You have to be given, you have to see that I'm given that they are parallel. Well, let's move on. Which two angles are alternating angles according to what we said? The Z angles are the alternating angles. So which two angles from here are alternating angles? That's right. R and U are equal. Why R and U are equal? Because we have these Z angles. You see this Z? Yes, that's why we called them Z angles. Let me just trace them. We have this Z. We have this Z. Yes, we have this Z. We have this Z. So this R and this U are the angles that we call the Z angles. So they are called, the official name that we are supposed to write is called alternating angles. After that, what do I write? Remember, what do I write? Yes, the important thing that this line and this line are parallel. So I need to write that AB is parallel to CD. Never leave that. Never leave that. Which other angles are alternating angles? Well, yes, you are right. S and T are alternating angles because we said they are alternating angles that come from here going there and then here and there. These are our alternating angles. So S is equal to T. Why is that? It's because they are also alternating angles where AB is parallel to CD. We combine everything that we've learned so far to try to find the other angles. So, do you remember what you learned before about the angle relationships? Number one, we learned about the angles, adjacent angles on a straight line. Number two, we talked about the vertical opposite angles. Are you seeing them from this diagram? Are you seeing any adjacent angles? Are you seeing any vertically opposite angles? Yes, they are there. This and these are adjacent. This and these are adjacent. This and these are adjacent. This and these are vertically opposite. This and these are vertically opposite. This and these are alternating angles. So that's how beautiful mathematics is. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's try to find the angles that are lettered on this diagram. Let's start by A. Which is the quickest way to find A? You remember that A and 60 degrees, how are they related? Yes, that's very true. They are adjacent angles on a straight line. So what do they do? Adjacent angles on the straight line are supplemented. So I say what? A plus 60 degrees. They are supposed to give us what? That's right, 180 degrees, because the angles on straight line are supplemented. Adjacent angles on a straight line are supplemented. We just shorten this way. Then we solve for A. That's A is equal to 180 degrees minus 60 degrees, which is equal to 120 degrees. So it means that our A is 120 degrees. Let's go to our B. What's the relationship between B and 60? Remember, we could relate this, they are adjacent to, but there is this original. So it's always best to relate to the original. So B is equal to 60 degrees because these two angles are vertically opposite angles. So when we have vertically opposite angles, we know that they are equal. Vertically opposite angles. That's right. How about C? Wow. C is equal to A, so I'm not going to spend much of my time calculating that because C and A are vertically opposite angles. Yes, I could relate to this original and still say that C plus 60 degrees is equal to 180 degrees, but I've already done that. So C is equal to A Why is that? It's because they are vertically opposite angles. But remember that when I am doing this, I don't need to use letters. I need to use numbers. So what's A, by the way? A is 120. So I will now say, therefore, so our C is equal to 120 degrees. I just wrote this so that I could write my reason well. Okay, let's move on. Now I found A, B, and C. How about these angles? Wow, they seem like they are very far away from this. Is there any link? Wow, we have this link. So what are we going to do? Our E, is it equal to any of the angles here? Yes, it is equal to B. What's the reason? This angle and that angle, this angle and that angle, they are equal. E is equal to B. Why? What's the reason? The reason is because they are alternating angles. Alternating angles because PQ is parallel to RS. We need to show that. We close bracket. Then our E is equal to, thank God we had already calculated this. So B is 60, so I'm just going to say E is equal to 60 degrees. Wow. Then how about B? How about D? I mean, yes, D is going to be equal to C. Again, these are alternating angles. D is equal to C, and they are alternating angles because PQ is parallel to RS. Never leave that statement, then we close brackets. But our C, we already calculated that it's 120. So I'm just going to say that our D is equals to 120 degrees. Well, now when we are here, there are so many ways to calculate, of course, because we had already calculated our E. We already found our E. We could still say that E and D are supplementary angles, but I no longer want to do all those long calculations. That's the benefit of knowing some of the things. But you can still do that and try to see if you can come out with the same answer. D, how about G? Yes, I could still see that these ones are angles on a straight line. They are adjacent angles on a straight line, but they are still opposite with E. G is still opposite with E. So I can still say G is equals to E. What's the reason? The reason is because they are vertical opposite angles. Okay, pardon for my space here. So our G is equal to what? Our G is equal to, our E was 60. So I'm just substituting here 60 degrees. Then lastly, our F, which is the last, F is equal to D. And what's that D? Our D is 120 degrees. So our F is equal to 120 degrees. Why? Because they are also vertical opposite angles. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what we do when we are dealing with the angle relationships where there are parallel lines and a transversal line. Again, these are parallel lines and this is a transversal line.